Welcome everyone to Elizabethtown City Council Work Session for August 10th, 2026. And I would like to ask Councilman Tim Isaacs if he'd lead us in the invocation, please.
Pray with me. Dear Lord, we thank you for your many blessings as we come together on this beautiful day. We pray for your guidance as we consider the business on the agenda. Help us to focus on what is in the best interest of the city as a whole and not any one individual or small group, including ourselves. Help us to never forget that the opportunity to serve is a gift we should never take for granted. Thank you for respectful discourse and for those who have taken the time from their day to be here in this meeting, both in person and online. Help us to never forget how blessed we are to live in a nation where opinions can be shared openly, even when we don't agree with one another. Finally, Lord, protect those that dedicate themselves to protecting us. Keep our first responders safe as they do their work. Be with our educators, Lord, as we begin a new school year. Guide them as they work to help our children grow and mature and see the potential that you have instilled in each one of them. In your name we ask it. Amen.
And if you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will call the meeting to order and ask Madam Clerk if she would please call roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Bishop.
Present.
Fulkerson.
Here.
Isaacs.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Springsteen.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am, and good afternoon to everyone. We are glad that you are here. We have a few updates that we want to make you aware of. We're going to start with Rita Davis, who is our stormwater director and does a great job of it. And she's going to give us a stormwater update on Henry Street.
Yeah, so we've been working hard on our Henry Street capital project. The project runs from West Dixie, there by back home, up to Beach Street. And a lot of this is in the backyards of the homes that front North Miles and Henry Street. So our consultants, engineering consultant, OHM Advisors, they are currently working on the 90% plans. So we've gone through the 60% review process, and we've also done a walkthrough on July 14th. We did a walkthrough to help them develop the 90% plans. We also have a pretty extensive easement acquisition process that we're going through. We need 54 easements because this is an older part of town. It wasn't platted with the easements in the back like our current standards would require. So we currently have received about 23 of those 54 easements. And we have about 5 additional property owners that we've made contact with, and it sounds like they are amenable to granting easement if we work through some specific details to their properties. To help us address specific details with regards to as many properties as we've got, we've put together a memorandum of understanding to kind of accompany the easement document. And that would be different types of property-specific accommodations, like a pet that needs to, that requires being contained, in the interim where the fences are removed for the project, and those kind of things. So one thing with the MOU that we maybe are requesting some input on the council from, lawn restoration has historically with some of these projects been a difficult thing to achieve for specific property owners. So we've bounced around ideas as far as having that can be part of the contractor's responsibility to get that lawn restored to the end, or potentially doing a separate contract for a lawn restoration for a specific landscaping company to come in and take care of that. So we are kind of bouncing around some ideas as far as how to handle, there are some pros and cons to both, but bouncing around some ideas as far as how to handle, since this is entirely in the backyards of several homes, that trying to figure out how best to restore yards especially whenever you've got fences that are being put back up and that kind of thing, where it would make it difficult to access through yards that have already been restored. So, so that's kind of something that we are requesting input on, and I think Ed might have some input on that as well. Is that good?
So basically what she's wanting your all's opinion, if you would chime in with your thoughts of whether or not when we do that project, when we go in there and we tear up the ground in the multiple yards or properties that the different people own in that corridor, whether we just want to figure up a fee per square foot and write them a check for it, or if we want to be responsible like we've done in most other projects that we've done in restoring their property.
One of the residents is here, Rick Walters. What would be your preference?
Okay. So yeah, so we can, okay, yeah, so we'll just look into either subbing that as a separate contract or putting it on the primary contractor for the project. So
Has, sorry, not meaning to, but like, has that been one of the issues with individuals to sign the easements? Because I know we've discussed easements for a little period of time.
the lawn restoration is usually not, it's usually, we had one lady who had some banana trees that she wanted to make sure we're not going to be disturbed with the project. So we've revised easements to make sure that we're avoiding those. So I don't know that lawn restoration is the main kind of driver of the folks who are wanting more before they sign their easement. So
Okay, thank you.
But overall, on a lot of our projects, we're starting to, that's the most important aspect to the homeowners. I mean, Rita's going to put a pipe in the backyard of all these folks. And once the pipe's there and it handles the drainage, I mean, it's not seen, but their lawn and their fence is something that they still deal with. And on, I guess, more of our recent projects, that seems to be the struggle to complete things and make sure the property owner is satisfied with the work. We've actually started changing some of our standards and are doing more sod installation in certain aspects just because it takes immediate restoration instead of seed and straw and getting contractors back in. And as Rita pointed out, because of the number of easements that we have to obtain in this area, our concern with that lawn restoration is that the third house down we may struggle with, and trying to get access into that to restore that lawn and do things. So we're looking at some other areas. And like I said, the one that we wanted to ask about was just to pay folks and say, it's now your responsibility. One of the things that we've talked about for the restoration, if we do sod, is that requires watering immediately. I'm sure you all will hear from the property owners that, wait a minute, I'm having to spend more on my water bill. So, I mean, that may be something as part of the project that we come back to you all at some point and say, as part of the easement, as part of this memorandum of understanding that Rita and her staff are preparing, that we may do a homeowner allocation to help pay for that water bill to make sure the lawn is restored properly. One of the things that they're still, as she said, they're about 90% plan. But one of the issues is fencing. I mean, this is rather large pipe that we're putting in the ground. And if we have issues, we need to have access to it. So the easements are being written that we're going to do initial restoration of fences and things. But if we have to come in the future, that is in our easement, and we have the right to remove and take it out. So again, that's something that Rita and her team are having to explain to property owners. We've had some meetings. We'll probably still have some neighborhood meetings before we start the project once we get it awarded so people understand. But like I said, we wanted to share some of those issues that we're trying to work through to make sure we have a good product for the residents there. And like I said, if we don't want to pay and do that, we may break the landscaping portion out as a separate contract then, but get into the timing. It'll become a scheduling with the main contractor and then the timing of restoration. And I was talking to Mr. Walters before the meeting, and that becomes critical when you try to restore somebody's property. I mean, you know, if we were trying to do it today, don't know how successful we would be in the middle of August when it's heat indexes of 100. So we may have to work through some scheduling and make you all aware of that as we proceed and deal with the residents that way too. So are there other guidance that you all, I mean, we okay if we separate it out? Is sod a good idea? It adds cost to the project. So, I mean, that's where we're impacting the budget that we may bring to you all. So that's.
I'd be fine with the sodding because I think that's going to be a little bit easier to get done and get the restoration going with sodding versus seeding it and strawing it and all that. The question would be that if Mr. Walters wants the city to do it, is this an all or none? That's probably the best way to work, is if we're going to do the landscape, then we're going to do that and break that out.
And that's the discussion we've had, Marty, at our level, is could we do this voluntarily, and how effective do we think it that way? And we're not sure we would be effective if 3 people said, oh yeah, give me a check and I'll take care of mine, and 2 people said no, and then we've got to tell a contractor, okay, these 2 yards you're not touching, but the 3rd one down here you've got to do something with. So yeah, it is kind of a all or nothing kind of thing. So okay.
I think definitely the sod. The important part of that, of course, is going to be the watering factor too that
Sure.
comes back. Because I know there were, it was a different project, and there were some water questions that individuals had. So I think it's an immediate fix, but they have still to water.
Okay. We'll work on that aspect too then.
Yeah, we can certainly put the watering aspect on the property owners within, and put that in our MOU document so they know that that's expected of them, so.
I think they're going to be excited not to have water when it rains and floods, right, Rick? More so than, probably a bigger concern than the grass, but yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully we can get the rest of these easements, so.
Any other questions for her on Henry Street? James Gray, do you mind to come up and help her? I want her to give us an update real quick on Wawa's and what they went through and what our response was and what our responsibility was, if she would.
Yeah, so let's see. So July 20th, Wawa had a spill. They were doing a fuel filtering operation, and the valve ended up shutting on the tank, and 1,500 gallons of fuel spilled into the private catch basin on Wawa's property. Now that catch basin is connected to a 66,000 gallon, roughly actually over that gallon underground detention system. Immediately, we had the state fire marshal, the Elizabethtown Fire Department, Stormwater Department, and the Kentucky Department for Environmental Protection Emergency Response Branch have all responded. And we've been monitoring, checking the downstream catch basins to see if anything has left that Wawa site, and we've determined that nothing has left the site. It's all collected into the underground detention basin. So Wawa is planning to, and the Kentucky Department for Environmental Protection is kind of the regulatory agency for overseeing the cleanup of the fuel spill. So they will be digging up their underground detention basin to remediate all the soils that are underlying that detention basin, and then put clean soil back and reinstall that detention basin. So that's why their grand opening was delayed. They are now having to do a little bit more site work than they were originally anticipating to remediate that cleanup.
Any questions? Got anything to add?
I think 1,500 gallons sounds like a lot when you say it, but in the big picture here, it was about 25 bathtubs of liquid going into an area that holds 1,100 bathtubs full of liquid. So it was a lot of fuel, but I mean there was adequate storage in the ground, nothing left. So I mean it was all fine. We originally didn't report this because it's a private matter. It didn't enter a public system. There was no public safety issue. We do illicit discharges daily. We never report those. Most of them's no more than somebody, washing a car or pressure washing something and getting a little bit of soap out in the street or something. So it was all safe. We all have children and grandkids that live here. Of course, we don't want anything bad to happen either. So.
And no doubt if there was an issue or there was an immediate threat of danger to the public, we would have immediately notified everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But to your point, this isn't the first time that we've dealt with this, and the fire department folks that are sitting back there can also tell you, we respond to fuel spills occasionally. And what do you all have, Mark, 40, 50 runs a week? We don't report all 40 or 50 runs that the fire department makes a week unless somebody asks us about it, being a news source or a news or media source. And I think, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, we got one email from the Courier Journal. So that was all the inquiries that we had. But anyway, it was under control. Our folks did a good job. We're not the investigating agency. The state is, and we expected the state to cut a press release because it's their investigation, and or Wawa to cut a press release because it's their business. And it probably didn't happen as timely as it could have from both of those different independent agencies and businesses. So because people were inquiring, that's why I had Amy release what she did today. But just want to make sure we're clear on that. I appreciate you all updating us on that.
We've been out there countless times too, even after the initial, we spent 2 whole days there. After that, we've been stopping in, several times a week to just see how the progress is going.
Y'all good? Thank you. Mr. Pope, you're back up with the project update.
I am not going to review on the memo we sent you all on the projects. I'm not going to review every one of the projects, but there are a number that we wanted to highlight with you all. Seth talked a little bit in his presentation about the American Legion Park and those improvements. Now that project is finished, we just wanted to highlight a couple things. One, the new pavilion has restroom facilities in it, so we now have removed the porta-johns from the park. I think Seth may have mentioned, if he didn't, the Funtopia is very popular this time of year, at the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year, with school bus loads of children, and having 2 porta-johns available for 6 and 8 bus loads of kids didn't work the best in that park. So that's been a big improvement. We also built a shade structure by the pickleball courts. We heard from that group that they host tournaments and registrations and those kind of things. So we tried to accommodate their need a little bit. The park did not have really good pedestrian access, so we built a sidewalk down to Miles Street, which has helped tremendously people accessing there that way. There's the shade structure. I forgot that I was supposed to click through. There's the pedestrian access. The food court has done really well with that area too. And I think Seth gave you some numbers. I'm going to follow up that with some final numbers here with you all in a month or so now that the pool closed this past weekend. The next project we want to just highlight briefly with you all is the Commerce Drive extension. This first slide shows the rework of the existing section, what's been termed the northern section of the roadway. A lot of work in the last couple weeks has been in dealing with the businesses and property owners out there to make sure their access was open during construction, which has been quite trying, to be honest with you. It's hard to rebuild an entire roadway and keep it open at the same time. But also to make sure that, like I said, their customers could go in and out. The businesses have been great in that area, I will tell you, on working with the contractor. We've had very few issues, but there always are with construction. Like I said, especially in trying to keep entrances open when you're trying to pour concrete, when you're trying to put a new concrete entrance back in for somebody, but keep it open at the same time. But like I said, it's the interconnection of those departments or those businesses. And I know a lot of people sometimes question the city on why we make businesses interconnect with each other and provide access to somebody else. Well, during a construction process like this, that interconnection has played well for, at one time, I think both of Duff's direct accesses to Commerce Drive were closed for construction, but customers still got to their restaurant because they had shared access with the hotel adjacent to them. So like I said, the fact of interconnection has worked well at times. Like I said, we've just got a couple slides showing you the progress. The base asphalt is now down the entire length of the roadway. They're finishing up, like I said, a lot of concrete entrance curb work. The multi-use path is going down. Some of the sidewalk has already been completed on the, if you will, the interstate side of the roadway. They'll be now working on that north end around the existing businesses, and as they redo their entrances, they'll be redoing a lot of the sidewalk in that area, because Commerce Park, that's the overall subdivision where a lot of those businesses are located, was done in the 90s, and at that time the city's sidewalk standard was a 4-foot wide sidewalk. We've since changed that standard to a 5-foot wide, so we're upgrading those sidewalks as we're going through the project also. And then we've got a couple slides, just recent aerial photos of the Steel Grove Amphitheater and its work. You can see the parking lots are taking shape. A lot of that site grading is now completed, and they're now working on the erection of the main stage. The next project to talk about is the work we did out at the north end of Freeman Lake Park. That work, both the restroom facility, again, getting rid of porta-johns that were housed out there, the restroom facility and the parking lot, total project's a little over $1 million, but the city received a $1 million grant for the project. So we're getting a parking lot that is going to be at least twice, a little bit larger than twice the size of the previous lot. So we'll be able to keep 85 to 90 cars out in that area, and better handicap accessibility access from the parking lot down to the trail system and to the restrooms. Also, you can see the parking lot under construction in those slides. Project that we just completed in the last 2 weeks is the roundabout out at Veterans Way and Town Drive. In this slide, I would point out one of the things, I know the roundabouts get a lot of discussion in our community, but as part of this project, we also put in a multi-use path that, again, fits into the city's master plan for pedestrian and trail access. And so there's now a path that ties in to the mall, and it will be upgraded as we redo Town Drive, but we have a connection to the sidewalk along Town Drive all the way down to Sam's Club down at Ring Road. So we've now completed that loop. Like I said, we will continue in that effort as we redo Town Drive in the upcoming years too. I think the thing that's got a lot of the discussion about this roundabout has been the appearance of the center island. So that was an effort. This is the first one the city totally controlled the design for, and we wanted to improve the appearance. So I think the other roundabouts that you see in our community in the future, at least the ones the city has complete design over, will be more attractive to the motoring public. I would still remind people it is a roadway, and keep your eyes on the vehicles in the road and don't need to look at the beautiful landscaping as much, even though it is very attractive, and we're very proud of it. Finally, I want to make you all aware, I know you put annual budget for us for sidewalk improvements and other grant funds, so we just wanted to highlight some of those. The first is the project down on West Railroad Avenue. This is about a $500,000 project where we did some sidewalk improvements. We upgraded the pavement width of the street, and were able to, on one side of the street at least, put in a curb and gutter system, collect the storm water. We were not able to do that on both sides of the street because, unfortunately, the side closest to the railroad is not part of the city's right-of-way, and we couldn't make improvements to that. It's railroad property. But we did this project. It's about $500,000, a little higher than some of our other projects just because it's used with federal funds, and federal funds, they have to pay higher wage rates on some aspects of things and purchase materials a little bit differently. But again, this was about a $500,000 project, all paid with federal grant funds. There's no city money in this project, but it's a nice improvement to that neighborhood. And like I said, this shows the going around the curve and the improvements we made as we're going to move back into the rest of this neighborhood, which brings me to the point that because we are targeting this area, we've had 2 neighborhood meetings. The Central Avenue Baptist Church has been kind enough to host those meetings for us. And one of the things that we've heard from the neighbors is they would like to identify their neighborhood, but they don't have a name. They don't know what to call themselves. So we've sent a survey out. We hope to get responses from folks on a name for that area instead of just calling it east of downtown or north of downtown. And we've called it all kinds of things, just like E-Town. We have to have many directions on the same area, so it's north and east. So we hope to have a name. We've asked folks to get that to us by the end of this month. So at a September meeting, we may tell you that we've got a new neighborhood name down in there. And part of the development activity then we will have is we will try to do some neighborhood signage and some gateways that will help identify that area. As I mentioned, like I said, you all are generous enough to put money in the budget for sidewalk improvements, and I'm really proud of the effort that our sidewalk team has done in identifying projects, working with some neighborhoods and making improvements. And we've done sidewalks all over the community. We've filled in gaps that were missing. We put sidewalks in high-density residential areas. We've made some sidewalk connections to some commercial areas. We made sidewalk improvements around schools. Our target for this year, so this time next year, I may have a slide showing that, is going to be along Clifford Drive, giving better access to the Helmwood Heights School. We've tried several times in the past to receive some grant funding for that under a program that the Transportation Cabinet runs called Safe Routes to Schools, but have not been successful. So we're going to use the money that the council budgets for us. But one of the neighborhoods that we just finished up in is up along Skyline Drive in the Glendale Hill neighborhood. When the city redeveloped that area back in the 80s and early 90s, sidewalks were not a priority at that time, and because of budget constraints, the sidewalks were eliminated from the work we did. So we've gone back in, and Skyline Drive now has a sidewalk. This is around the intersection by the Wesley Hilltop House, and this is coming down through that area, but that's now been completed. We've got the sidewalk project going on North Main Street. They actually have the just about finished on the west side of that effort, or the north side, excuse me. The final thing that I wanted to highlight for you all, I know we talk about traffic calming during budget with you all, and you give us funds to do that. And I just wanted to highlight a project that we just finished that fits into that traffic calming effort. This is the intersection of Meadow Lane and Poplar Drive. So it gives access. We have a lot of kids who walk in this area up to Morningside Elementary and to TK Stone Middle School. And we put the crosswalks in recently. And just last Friday, we finished up and we put delineators in. So Poplar Drive is a through, so there's no stop there. And that road is about 30, somewhere 34, in some places 36 feet wide. So it's nice and straight, and they don't stop, and it's wide. So we have people who don't always do 25 miles an hour in that area, and we've got school kids. So these delineators are a first step in our effort to say, can we choke down Poplar Drive to slow the traffic down at this intersection? And so these delineators have been installed, and they choke that width down on Poplar to 26 feet, which is two 13-foot drive lanes. They go back from the intersection 25 feet because the city ordinance says you're not supposed to park within 25 feet of an intersection. So that's the magic behind that distance. It then does protect the folks along Poplar who would like to park along the roadway. And our engineering department laid this out. It's one of the things that is in the city's Safe Streets for All implementation program, where we have said our goal is to get to 0 pedestrian fatalities by the year 2050. So this is an effort to make crosswalks safer for school kids. It's also a rather inexpensive way to do this before we go out and build curbs and change things. So it's an effort on our part to say, here's a use of some funds, and it may lead to something else in the future. So like I said, there's some other projects that we put in the memo to you all just to give you updates on where they at and their process of completion. But we wanted to highlight some of the things that, like I said, some of it We've worked with design professionals on. Some of it has been done in-house by our team. So like I said, just wanted to make sure you all were aware of how we're spending some of the money you all budget to try to address neighborhoods throughout the community too. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I do have one. So, on Commerce Drive, so when do we, and I don't like to say completion dates, but estimated dates when that'll be usable to get from Interstate South or the 96 exit down?
Internally, we are debating that because there is some feel that we need to keep it closed while we still have a lot of construction activity at the Steel Grove. There is also some thought that says this street is going to give access to other areas of our community, and it's really designed to be, even though it's taking place at the time of the Steel Grove project, it is an independent project. Based on construction schedule, you will probably see an ordinance from us in September asking you all to accept it. And I know this is going to sound funny to folks, but even though it is a city project the city is building, we still have to officially put it in our maintenance system. So you all have to take action to do that. By state law, by default, all city streets, once accepted, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. Because this is a commercial collector street, that speed limit will be higher, so you all also have to take action to do that. Right now, I think our recommendation is that the speed limit be 35 miles per hour in that section. But like I said, I think you'll see us bring all that information to you all in September. They're doing a lot. This kind of weather, hot and dry, contractors love, especially when they're putting down asphalt and those kind of things. So hopefully they'll make a lot of progress in the next couple weeks that way. They've got to do some finish work, and as we talked earlier, doing the finish work where they grade and have to seed and straw, it's not the best weather to do some of that, but I mean, there are ways to substantially accept the project and allow traffic on it while they still then have to make sure they get their final grading done. They've got to get the multi-use path in, so there's still some other activity along the roadway, but like I said, I think you'll see us before you in September accepting it into the maintenance system, and then we'll probably have a recommendation to you all if we're going to open it immediately or keep it closed another 30 days or so.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that new road to pick up kids and drop off kids and
understand.
things. So
Anybody else?
I actually I don't often, but today I happened to end up driving from Poplar and Meadow and all through there from all the work that we've done from Morningside Drive. That's the street I was trying to think of.
Meadow
From
Lane.
Morningside all
Meadow
the way
Lane,
down
yeah.
to Poplar. It looks amazing
Yeah.
through Meadow. I mean, I know it's taken a couple years to do that, but the differences are huge, and especially with
they are.
kids walking and getting picked up from school. I think it'll be
Yeah,
huge improvement.
I would agree with you, Julia. The effort that you all allowed us to fund that and do it over multiple years. I mean, and like I said, we had a number of neighborhood meetings with those folks, and I mean, it really transformed that area to take areas that didn't have sidewalks or had sidewalks that were so crumbling that it wasn't safe to walk on, to now have a good access to those schools is really important, I think.
Thank you, sir. Last week, we received an email from a young lady that I thought was very well written and put together, and she made, in my opinion, a really good argument for her case. And what she was concerned about was she had spoken at our planning commission a couple weeks ago, and she wasn't comfortable about not necessarily stating her name, but she wasn't comfortable about stating her address and where she lived in the city. And the more I thought about it, I didn't think that that request was out of line, and I thought it was something that we probably needed to look at. And so I asked Judge Howard if he would research that a little bit and see what the requirements were for speaking at a public meeting. And so he's put together a sheet, and I'm going to have him address some of those if he would.
Okay, I can do this in 3 minutes or 30 minutes. I would prefer to do the 30-minute version, but I'm not sure you all will stay with me.
That's a lawyer in you.
Okay, we're used to getting paid by the hour. So anyway, I actually started in June in looking at the law as it relates to public hearings and public comment, okay? Because we had a person who expressed, not for themselves, but for others, about, since we moved into this facility back in January, I think it was, we live stream our meetings, which is a good thing, and I think people like that, and we want to continue to do that. But then that challenges us in people giving personal information, street addresses. Obviously, if we're live streaming, we cannot redact those as we could in previous times. So I began looking at it then, and as the mayor said, we had an email on August the 2nd from an individual that spoke, and it was very thoughtful, very thoroughly researched and helpful, frankly. And her concern was that in a live stream identifying her address, that she may be doxxed. Now, Amy challenged me to use the word doxxed today because she knows that she and the clerk have tried to explain to me, who does not participate in social media, what that term means. And all I can say is I still don't understand it, but I believe it to be a negative event, okay? And so a legitimate concern. And so the question becomes then, what do we do in order to accommodate that reasonable request? And so the short story is there's legally a difference in the standards between attending a meeting and speaking at a meeting. There is a difference between when the city council conducts administrative hearings, which is very rarely, and legislative hearings. So if anybody wants to stay afterwards, I'll be glad to give you the 30-minute research on all of that. But that has caused me to look at our policy, the Etown City Council policy on this matter that was adopted back in 2020. So it's been 6 years. So I think it's time to update that, and that's what I have passed out to you. Because if you look at paragraph 3, there's really two main modifications that I would recommend. Under 3, attending, if you are just attending but not speaking, okay, we request that you sign the attendance sheet in order to have accurate minutes, okay? The law is that we may request that, but we cannot require that, and we do not and have not. But I think we should probably state that in our policy. So that is the first revision. In paragraph 4, as far as members speaking at a public hearing or in the public comment section, the law is that they can be required to reasonably identify themselves, okay? And so we have that in there. I think that what we should add is that the name and address is at the discretion of the presiding officer. Because there could be circumstances. If we had a victim of domestic violence who wanted to come and say that he or she appreciated the victim advocate that we have and you all have funded at the Elizabethtown Police Department, that's somebody we would not want them to identify their name or their address. And so we could allow the presiding officer, and that's almost always the mayor, only if he's not here, do you all elect someone else to preside? In my 6 years, I don't think that has occurred. The mayor has always been here. But the other issue here, at the discretion of the presiding officer, I think it is valuable to you, each of you, to know when someone is at a hearing or making a public comment, do they live in the city limits of Elizabethtown? Do they live outside of the city limits of Elizabethtown? Do they live outside of the state? And so what I'm suggesting here is that before public comment sections, the presiding officer could have a brief colloquy that would say, we're live streaming, okay? And we would ask that you state your name and address, but if you're uncomfortable in that, then you can write your name or write your address on a piece of paper and provide it to the staff. In that way, we don't have to worry about, well, it's live stream and we can't redact it. It won't be stated. And then it won't be in the minutes later, at least not the address, so that we can control it in that way. So those are the two recommendations. The other deletions in paragraph 6 here is just a more updated way to say the same thing. Public comments shall be allowed on a viewpoint neutral basis. That's the terminology, frankly, that the courts are now using. It was different years ago, so I've just updated that. But those two would be recommendations that I would have. So I'm glad to just talk about this ad nauseum because I find it terribly interesting, but I don't expect necessarily everybody to share that interest. Any questions that I could add?
So do you feel like, and I know this has to do with like stating the address, when we're starting the meeting, does there need to be a comment made, we are live, this is being live streamed, so that people, we all know it is, and, obviously the people watching know it is, but we could have guests sometimes that it just leaves their mind. Is that something we need to?
We could do it in the beginning. I think maybe it's more important to say it before the public comment section to remind people that we are live streaming. That way, if they have a concern about their address, that they know then how to address it. So we could do it twice. Probably once at the beginning I think we need to say it before public comment section.
I know we at church, when I was doing the media for the church, that was one of the things we did, is we actually, on our PowerPoint slides or whatever, we would have it where it would flash up every now and then that you are being videotaped or streamed. Well, we live stream too, so that you are being live streamed, that photos could be taken. So we just kind of had that disclaimer out there that if someone didn't like it, they can fill out a paper for us and we would make sure. But it was kind of hard to do in a public setting when we're streaming live, to redact that or to not. So we just made a disclaimer that it's being done. It's kind of like at Kroger when you go down that cosmetic aisle. It's saying right there, you're being recorded. So, and they sell that information, I'm going to tell you that. So
That's partly a deterrent though, right?
yeah, and it's not,
We're
yeah,
not
it's
trying
partly a
to deter
deterrent,
free speech.
but it's there. So maybe having something that we can have scroll across the screen a little bit, or something just to say that this is being live streamed or something of that nature.
I do think making the observation right before the public comments makes a lot more sense because it's just fresh in people's minds if they're going to speak, and just be aware.
Since we're going to keep our register, Ken, could we put something on the registration too to let people know it's being live streamed? Because, they're all coming in and checking it that.
Yeah, I think we need to change that registration and just to put requested but not required, even though the term request implies that it's not required. But yeah, we could post that as well at the, where everybody enters to remind them that we're being live streamed. I mean, and I get what you're saying, Councilman. Church legally is a little different as a private, as opposed to, a public meeting of a local government unit. Everybody is expected to know that, minutes and a recording are being made.
This here states that this is Elizabethtown City Council policy, public comments at a city council meeting. Is it, when we adopt this, is this for all of our commissions, and does it need to state that?
It will. It'll apply to planning commission and the different boards that they have as well, in my opinion.
Except when they're conducting administrative hearings, which are map amendment hearings. They have different legal standards, okay? When they're doing text amendments, see, I get to get deep in the weeds now. Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry, you all.
This is the best part.
When they're doing text amendments, that's a legislative hearing, and they have different procedural due process requirements. But in a map amendment, the law is that is a trial type hearing. You have to be sworn, okay? You have to identify yourself if you're speaking, and questions have to be allowed. Okay, we don't have to do that unless at a city council level. We rarely do that. We haven't done it, I don't believe, in my 6 years here. The planning commission rarely does legislative hearings like we do. They are doing administrative hearings that have different standards. So what the planning commission, what the chairperson, they read all of that before a map amendment hearing is being conducted about how it's being conducted. That is all still accurate.
The complaint, well, the request came from speaking at a planning commission. That's why I was asking in
Yep.
regards to this.
And the oddity there is that was a text amendment.
Text amendment.
Which makes it a legislative hearing, not an administrative hearing.
The only thing that I would add to that is I do think everybody should have to say their name, and they should have to say whether or not they are a citizen that lives in the city limits or if they are not a citizen that lives in the city limits. And there are going to be times when people come up and they have a complaint or they have something they want to talk to the council about that is going to be address specific. This is where I live and this is the stormwater issue that I have. And for us to even know what they're talking about, we're going to have to know where they live. So if that arises, then I think what I would do as the presiding officer is tell them, we need to know what your address is. And then that's when they can do what Judge Howard offered, and that's write down their address, and then we can distribute that to you all, and that way we know exactly where they're talking about, but it doesn't go live stream and on the record, so they can be doxxed. See, I used it too.
But do you know what it means?
I do not. But I know it's negative.
We're together.
Okay. So any other questions? With that, we will take public comments. Any public comments? You? No, Mr. Torres, but I want to make sure that you're aware that you are being live streamed.
Hey, I just want to, first of all, I didn't get a chance to say this last time, but for the officers that were promoted, congratulations to them from last meeting. Of course, our officers that do incredible work for this community. Happy for them, proud for them. I also want to thank you for, I know I asked for this to be looked at and you did it, and I appreciate it. For when you come up here to not have to give your name.
No, you still have to give your name. You
Well-
just don't have to give your address if you don't want to. But
Right.
I need you to say if
My
you're a
name's Jose
city,
Torres, by the way. Okay, everybody, thank you very much.
and
All
you
right.
are a city resident.
Yes, I am a city resident. But I would say, in listening, I'll give you just, sir, if for the language, and I think Mr. Fulkerson had a great point in terms of how this policy pertains to all meetings. I think there's room for verbiage within this policy to be able to say it pertains to these meetings unless you're doing your legislative, whatever you just said, and be specific. And I also think the more specificity that you have within the language, because I think when you just say, well, and no disrespect to you, sir, but you said, well, that's how I would take it. Well, I don't necessarily think you want to do that. I think you want to be specific in every aspect of what you want to happen. So if you want someone to go specific to the desk, and which I think should be one of the primary options. Like, I think everyone should sign in for public comment, and I believe according to law you can do that because public comment is based on your policy specifically. You allow us to talk. There's no real like KRS that directs that. What happens at the front door is different, but what happens on this mic is yours. So I would just say I think there's room for more specificity for you all to dictate what happens, and to make sure that it's clear to everyone when they read it what the expectations are when they come up here. Sir, I'm grateful that you put out a note to the community with your. But I would say my concern is I think 20 days is too late. I know that you, if we were in trial, sir, I think you did an amazing job. You had all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. You brought in the stormwater team, have them explain it. You got some firemen looking good in their uniforms. I mean, it's amazing. But I think what the question is it comes down to, at least for me, right? I don't want to speak for anyone else, but for me, what it comes down to is you can be on site and you can make a statement without causing hysteria or, as someone that elects you and pays taxes, I'd like to see that, right? I don't need you to tell me all the facts, but it's nice to know that the person that I give leadership to demonstrates that leadership by going down there. It's a big deal. Not everyone has the knowledge that Mr. Gray has and be able to compare it to bathtubs and right. When you hear that there's fuel in your water system, it's pretty big, right? And 20 days of you not saying anything for whatever reason that was, I just feel like you can give an initial statement without having to say and say, look, we're turning it over to the people that do this. But I want you to know to have trust and confidence in this, that, and this, because I think there's a lot of people, if you looked on your Facebook, I mean, there was immediate answers, there was immediate comments. People were justifiably scared. So I think that I would just ask that maybe you consider that next time. Maybe we can get you a big blue jacket that says like mayor on the back of it. You look all fancy, get you the seal. Maybe get you a red hat that says mayor on it, whatever. But I just think that like response for us as citizens is critical, because I didn't elect anyone from Wawa or from anyone else, right? I'm looking to you directly for that leadership and for you to come out and say, this is the problem, this is what we have, this is what we're doing. I'm not going to comment on this because I can't. You can, obviously you have masterful people, doing press releases for you and wording and verbiage, and I'm sure you're doing it as well. So I would just ask that you come out a little earlier than 20 days. My second point, and I'll leave it at this, is I'm still concerned about those people that are on the street. We talk about, this gentleman in here talked about how it's 100 degrees out. We still don't have a shelter. We still don't have a place for them, a cooling shelter. And I can tell you right now, even in military training, today would be considered a Black Flag Day. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes at this point. I think it's been a long time, and I don't want to really go into it, but it's something that's been happening for a long time. I think if we can build traffic circles and we can build everything else, we can perhaps put some attention, not all the attention, just some of the attention, maybe balance it out a little bit for those that are really struggling. And if you read the article in the News Enterprise talking about housing, it's alarming how much housing we need, but it's also alarming that there's going to be more and more people out in the street, statewide or commonwealth-wide, whatever you choose to say. But I just think that I'm hopeful. Mr. Fulkerson, you good? No, never mind.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Seeing none, we will move to city council information items. The next city council meeting will be August 17th, 2026. And lawn party at Freeman Lake Park this Wednesday, August 12th. Amy, am I correct to say this is the last one? The last chance you got to go out. We do have one in September? No, I think this is the last lawn party event. So hopefully the weather's great and we can see everybody out there. It's always a good time, and we've unfortunately had a couple dates that were rained out. So we look forward to getting out there and having a sunshiny day. And that is all that I have. Y'all have anything you want to add?
Lions Chicken Barbecue this coming Saturday at 11 o'clock at Memorial Methodist Church. All you can eat. Well, it's not all you can eat, but it's a half a chicken. And I do have some tickets if you like one. Yeah, we can't do buffet.
Anybody else? We will not go closed session today. So with that, I need a motion and a second to adjourn, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all.